Donald Trump was recently indicted for a number of capital offenses. His mishandling and denial of the COVID-19 pandemic led to the death of 500,000 Americans. His reversal of Barack Obama's Ukraine policy flooded Ukraine with weapons, making Vladimir Putin's invasion much more likely. His handing over of the Western Sahara to Morocco was a move which most of the world condemned, and is now creating fresh conflict between Morocco, Algeria, and the Sahrawi rebels. This is why, when New York District Attorney Alvin Bragg formalized his charges against Donald Trump, he added the following moral stakes.
These are felony crimes in New York State, no matter who you are. We cannot and will not normalize serious criminal conduct.
Given the nature of these offenses, Donald Trump is now facing the death penalty by way of Brazilian asphyxiation.
How dare you!
No, these were not the actual charges against Donald Trump. It is a remarkable question as to why they were not, but for now, let us examine what is on the table. In 2006, Donald Trump allegedly had an affair with adult actress Stormy Daniels. She says they first met at a golf tournament in Nevada, flirted, and had consensual sex in a hotel room. She insists there was no payment, and they remained friends after he promised her a role on The Apprentice. A few years later, Donald Trump threatened to sue Stormy Daniels when her agent tried to sell the details of their relationship to a magazine. In 2016, he arranged for his personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, to pay $130,000 in hush money to Stormy Daniels. The criminal charges suggest Donald Trump mislabeled business records to make this look like an ordinary legal expense. The falsification of business records is a misdemeanor in New York State, but if done in order to commit or conceal another crime, such as crimes related to campaign finance laws, this Class E misdemeanor can become a Class E felony. Every transaction related to the hush money payment was thus treated as a potential crime, bringing the total count to 34 felonies. If one assumes maximum time served for each count, this means 136 years in prison. Now, on one level, Donald Trump is a lifelong criminal, not too different from any other generic billionaire, save for the fact that New York real estate is an especially dirty business. New York City Mayor Eric Adams, for example, is friends with alleged slumlords and has reportedly forgotten to pay income taxes on his rental units. Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, has been accused of shady business practices, while Jared's father, the real estate developer Charles Kushner, is a convicted felon. On another level, Donald Trump can easily claim to be a victim here. Although it was perfectly legal for Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal to share details of Trump's sex life, there is something distasteful about sexual humiliation and the forced exchange of money. Imagine if a man had knowledge of Kamala Harris's sex life and wished to go public with the details. It would be hard to see her as anything but a victim, even though in a cosmic sense, Kamala Harris, like Donald Trump, is not deserving of anyone's sympathy.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
Further, legal analysts on both the left and the right commented on how difficult and strange this case is. Even former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, who was fired by Donald Trump for petty vindictive reasons, said the indictment, quote, landed like a dud, an unimpressive document. What is far more fascinating to me is how narrow the range of possibilities is, not only for the indictment of Donald Trump, but for most political figures, large corporations, and others with substantial power. Too often, when a powerful person is threatened with arrest, it is done for political reasons, even if there is some level of technical wrongdoing. In 2016, Donald Trump promised to prosecute Hillary Clinton over her careless security practices, but not for the fact that she insisted on turning a legal intervention in Libya into an illegal, full-scale war, which saw one of the most prosperous countries in Africa become a failed state. In 2023, the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin over his illegal invasion of Ukraine, yet has never issued warrants for George W. Bush, Benjamin Netanyahu, Mohammed bin Salman, and other mass murderers allied with the West. This does serious damage to international law and confuses the expected standards of conduct. It also gives life to a massive propaganda network for America's peer competitors, and more importantly, creates competitors in a world that requires cooperation. This is, of course, all by design. Throughout the presidency of Donald Trump, we kept hearing theories as to whether or not a sitting president could be indicted. This is because, as a rule, the powerful are insulated from consequences so that they could continue to exercise power, which is seen as a necessity. It is a fact that the COVID-19 pandemic was real and continues to be real. It is a fact that Donald Trump downplayed its severity and encouraged Americans to go maskless. It is a fact that he is directly responsible for a substantial chunk of the 400,000 coronavirus deaths in 2020. While conservatives are obsessed with street crime, which saw 26,000 homicides that year, this event was an order of magnitude more deadly. If we tally up the costs of privatized healthcare, illegal wars, homelessness, pollution, and other items within the power of government to control, the death toll becomes unimaginable. It also encourages street crime, the very thing the right-wingers wish to highlight but never resolve. In fact, once street criminals have been created, the state has no choice but to clamp down in authoritarian fashion. This is a kind of regressive tax, and while all taxation contributes to the public good, under a regressive tax system, the least well-off are forced to pay much steeper prices for relatively less consequential behavior. District Attorney Alvin Bragg presented Donald Trump's indictment as the powerful being held to account, but this is only a little bit true. The fact is, under our two-party system, the powerful can't really be held to account because it would mean both sides would be prosecuted. If Donald Trump is guilty of murdering 500,000 Americans, what can we say of Joe Biden? He tried to force teachers back into the classroom months before vaccines were available. He pulled strings to ensure that Russia's highly effective Sputnik V vaccine was not easily accessible, punishing individuals abroad who opted for it over the American counterpart. Despite declaring Independence Day from COVID in July 2021, the COVID body count has only doubled since that day and tripled since Biden's inauguration. All vaccine and mask mandates have disappeared. Public officials no longer model COVID best practices, and despite the fact that Joe Biden ran on Obama's 2008 healthcare plan, there is still no public option, little federal funding for anything COVID-related, and nothing for the millions of Americans currently living with long COVID and immunological dysfunctions. Although studies have highlighted the unique danger of repeat infections even for the vaccinated, COVID mitigation is not a priority for the Biden administration. It is correct to say that Donald Trump instigated a riot by telling lies about the 2020 election, but this is not so different from Hillary Clinton's comments about the 2016 election. Recall that well into 2019, she continued to insist that Donald Trump stole the election, that he knew he was an illegitimate president doing the work of Vladimir Putin. According to this theory, a hostile foreign power installed a fascist puppet, and this obviously cannot stand. If the stakes are this high, Donald Trump needed to be removed either by legal or by extrajudicial means. There is no way around this logic. The main reason why Democrats were able to get away with such messaging is because liberals have more to lose and are therefore less willing to act on their own convictions. Right-wingers are less well-adjusted to society, more resentful over mainstream culture, and are therefore much more volatile. While Hillary Clinton can proudly say that she has never instigated a riot, this is true only because her supporters have calculated that fascism is better exploited rather than fought. During his presidency, Donald Trump planted the seeds of war in Africa, a war with Russia, and perhaps even with China, but is now taking credit for peace. Democrats complain about Trump's trade war and anti-China rhetoric only to intensify both while in office. Donald Trump and his children have been accused of pay-for-play schemes, yet Hillary Clinton took $1 billion in corporate bribes in 2016. Donald Trump, another billion in 2020, and Joe Biden, $1.5 billion for his own campaign. Barack Obama entered the Paris Climate Accords, but crashed the price of fossil fuels, thus accelerating their use. Donald Trump took the blame for exiting a climate agreement no state was adhering to, but when Joe Biden re-entered it in 2021, his own climate legislation took America out of compliance for the foreseeable future. It's been estimated that the world has already had millions of climate refugees, and if this number grows to 1 billion or more, who exactly will be held accountable? The thinking is, if we maximize the number of people promoting death, no individual can really be blamed. There are too many bureaucrats, too many politicians, too much inertia and stagnation for accountability. And yet, when it comes to collective problems, such as street crime, individuals are said to have radical responsibility and are punished as such. Donald Trump's indictment has a pretty straightforward function. It channels the anger of the past 8 years into a pit from which it cannot escape. If there is a conviction, liberals will feel that justice has been served, while right-wingers will offer nothing except more resentment and more identity politics. There is no push for laws targeting the criminal negligence of the powerful, no plans to rein in corporate bribes, and no desire to bring the United States into compliance with what it calls the rules-based global order. These rules naturally look a little different if you're not an American. Recently, the Polisario Front said they would renew armed resistance in Western Sahara. Afghanistan is now starving through Joe Biden's sanctions as punishment for winning a war that Joe Biden himself once foolishly demanded. The Pentagon's budget accelerated under Trump, accelerated under Biden, while tens of billions in food stamps has been cut. Millions have needlessly died under the watch and even the encouragement of both Republican and Democratic Party administrations. They will continue to die because there is no Class E misdemeanor when it involves destruction on such a scale. This has been Alex Sheremet with AUTOMACHINATION. Please hit like and subscribe to help this channel grow, and consider becoming a patron for exclusive content. Thank you for watching.